Hey everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Ash and today I'm doing a quick review for SpongeBob SquarePants The Cosmic Shake on Xbox. Now, a few years ago we were graced with an absolutely fantastic remaster of the PS2 SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. I absolutely loved it, one of my favourite games that year, completed it 100%, 1000 gamer score. And now developer Purple Lamp and publisher THQ Nordic are back with a brand new SpongeBob game. Now this is a platforming game. It's basically a sort of semi-sequel in terms of like the style of gameplay to Battle for Bikini Bottom, but it's not a remaster of a previous game. This is all brand new. Now, in this game you play SpongeBob, assisted by a now balloon-style Patrick, as he has to save his friends who have been sucked into these portals and into these sort of mini Wishworlds. Basically because Patrick and SpongeBob are idiots and they messed with some wish-granting mermaid tears that basically destroyed the fabric of the universe. Now, each of these mini worlds are basically themed on different styles and time periods. So you have like a Wild West one, a prehistoric one. You have a sort of movie studio sort of set themed one. And in them, all of the sort of environments and the characters and stuff are all sort of themed to that sort of time period or that sort of setting. So you'll see Mr. Krabs dressed in like his cowboy outfit and stuff like that. Now, gameplay wise, it plays very similar. You've got loads of collectibles to find and there's loads of platforming sections to work your way through. Now, it does feel like they've expanded upon some of the stuff from Bikini Bottom and gone to the next level. So like in the cowboy level right at the beginning, you end up doing like a horse race sort of thing, and then there's like a whole riding section, and then you go on to something else, you do that section, you go on to something else, then you're on like a train and you go on to something else. So it feels more set piecey than Battle for Bikini Bottom was, but overall there's just something missing to the whole game, which is a shame. Now, I'm not saying the game's bad. I would highly recommend this game if you like sort of like old school 90s platformers. Like you like the old school style of it. You like that kind of sort of collectathon platforming with a bit of combat, bright colours and all that sort of shebang. If you like the more modern platformers, this probably isn't for you. And you're going to get that great sort of presentation. So you get the bright colours, everything looks great for a SpongeBob game. All the voice acting's there and correct. Even better than Battle for Bikini Bottom because obviously the remaster used the original audio tracks and obviously Mr. Krabs wasn't voiced by Mr. Krabs as voice actor in that one. Whereas in this one, all the voice cast is correct. Now, the level designs are really good in this game as well. They're not as memorable in some cases as some from Battle for Bikini Bottom, but overall, like I say, there's a good variety of things on offer in each of the levels. Now, the downside is, though, there's less to do in this game, it feels. It feels less full. While the worlds are bigger, there are less worlds. There's not as many environments to work through, and you'll get through the entire game in less than 10 hours, if not less, 5, maybe 6. The story is a bit weird and flimsy and doesn't make a lot of sense, and you'll end up thinking like, why? Like you go into each of these worlds to save someone, like in the cowboy world you go in to save like Mr. Krabs, but right at the end Sandy's right there and it's like, why don't you save them both at the same time? Instead you end up having to go into another world to then save Sandy, and it's just odd. It doesn't make much sense. Now, there's also a ton of costumes in this one. They make a big song and dance that there's over sort of 30 different costumes you can wear in this game. And while the costumes are cool, they are basically purely cosmetic in the end, which is a shame. Because I thought they were going to mean you'd have different abilities with each one. It's very much like Mario, But in the end, it turns out it's more just a way to sort of sell your DLC, which they have done. They've released more as sort of extra DLC. Now, you are able to change your costume at any time during the game as well by just clicking the pause button and change. So that's nice, and there is a lot to unlock and find and change around. But it would have been nice for them to be a bit more meaningful, basically. Because like when you first load up the first like mini world, you're like, boom, I've got this cool costume, and you think you're going to get to use it, but it doesn't really mean anything. And it's just a bit odd. It's a bit lackluster. There's only one playable character, so you can only play as SpongeBob. You don't get to play as Patrick or anything like that. Because obviously Battle for Bikini Bottom you could play as a variety of them, so it feels very much like a trimmed down version, and the collectibles aren't as good. So I do like to find all the collectibles, get everything, but honestly I just didn't have as big an interest in doing so as in Battle for Bikini Bottom. So overall, I don't want to say this game's rubbish, because it's not. It's a solid enough, casual, 90s-esque, sort of old-school platforming game, which is what I wanted. It's just after such a high of that Battle for Bikini Bottom, this one feels more like a cheap tie-in game that you would expect. And I was just expecting that little bit more, because, like, it's like a missed opportunity. There was an open goal, and they were like, we can do a sequel with loads of levels and stuff like that. And in the end, there wasn't. That was it. So once you've completed each of the mini worlds and found everything, that's it. There's not even as many levels at all as the other game, which is an absolute shame. So you're going to go through it, and I think there's only about 7 areas, 7 environments to get through. So obviously to get the full completion, you'll have to spend a lot longer, but you can play through the story mode alone within 5 hours, literally from start to finish. That's it. Now the game looks great. It doesn't run amazingly. Like I say, it's not the worst running game. I played this on the Series X, but there was a bit of jank and a bit of stuttering, especially every now and again. It didn't sort of spoil the experience. I'm not one of those sort of performance snobs, but I did sort of notice it quite a bit. And another thing, enemies, villains, stuff like that. There's some very unique different villains in this compared to Battle for Bikini Bottom, but the boss fights in this aren't anything to write home about. They're not the worst, but there's nothing amazing to sort of I could recall and say that is a fantastic boss fight. So it's a shame. Like I say, I can highly recommend it if you pick it up in a sale, or if you're just wanting to have a fun little platformer. Highly recommend it for that. But in terms of sort of quality compared to that last release, it's just missing the mark, unfortunately. But anyway, guys, that's that for this video. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll see you soon for more content. Bye for now.